Every story has an ending. Does our quest to play the top 100 courses in 10 years have a good ending? This is the Top 110 Golf Podcast. Episode 3. The first one. You never forget your first time, and boy did we have a day for the first one. So strap yourselves in, this is the story of how our challenge clicked into gear. A little word of warning. I did mess up the audio recording a little bit, so it's not quite as clear as I would like it to be, but I am learning the ropes, so we're getting there. I hope you can bear with me.
Today's episode is a bit special because it's the first time the three of us have got together to discuss the challenge, and we are filming it. So I thought I'd introduce you to Chris and Jim. Chris is the brains to my beauty, clearly. Interesting. And JTC is just, JTC is the antagonist. So he's in charge today, and I've given him some questions to ask.
Doesn't mean I'm in charge, does it? If you give me a script, it's like you're the Jeremy Clarkson now. Which
Does that make me James May?
What a dandy.
Do you want to be Richard Hammond? I mean, feel free. There's no problem at all. But you have got a license to run with it and go with it, do whatever you want. Now, yeah, as you know, I'm a control freak, so that's quite hard for me to relinquish that control over. But before I do the formal handover, I'd just like to say a quick thanks to Chris for actually coming up with the idea. And then you run with it. Thanks very much. It's been pretty mindful.
And run with it, you did.
Oh yes. Did you realise that when you actually said to him on a Saturday night in this very kitchen what you were intending to do, that within 24 hours he plotted your route, and within 48 hours he was getting you on a podcast.
Because 49 hours I thought the podcast sowed its seeds, but yeah. Okay, so over to you.
Oh, is this are we bringing the kids in again? Is it like seeds, kids, you know? 2 kids, by the way.
To be kind.
Be kind.
Actually, don't, it's weird.
Always kind. I'm always kind. So obviously this is the first live episode of the podcast. Sorry, the pod. You should say maybe you can't. The first video stuff of this journey, let's say. So I mean, it's already coming to fruition. You've already played one round of golf at Silloth.
Well pronounced.
Is that the correct pronunciation?
It was Silloth earlier on, so.
Yeah. Well, I'm not, Cumbrian. So I'm learning. I'm sure I'll learn a lot of pronunciations over the next 10 years. God, that seems like an ordeal, doesn't it? But it was part of your planning and the mapping of the courses when we widened Silloth first.
I guess for me, obviously, like I say, I am Cumbrian, born and bred. Not born actually strictly, but bred in Cumbria. And obviously, I played a lot of my golf there as a junior. So yeah, Silloth has got a special place in my heart for sure. So I was keen that we do that fairly early to kind of show Nish one of my personal favourite courses in the country. So yeah, it felt like a good place to start. It's also one of the most accessible in terms of monetary. It's in the cost.
It's the cheapest, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's not particularly accessible to get to, but yeah, accessible in terms of you can get on fairly easily. I think it's fairly cheap. But yeah, I think mostly because it was, it's got a special place in my heart, I think.
Was that your local club?
Not my local club, I mean, it's local to basically no one. I mean, it's literally out on a limb in the middle of nowhere, and that's, even by Cumbrian terms, it's out there. So yeah, it wasn't my local club, but it's the best course in Cumbria, so we used to play there for competitions and stuff. So I've played there probably 6 or 7 times.
Is it a links course?
It is a links course, yeah. Classic links course. I mean, it's a very beautiful place.
Yeah, stunning.
It's one of those things that I was obviously taking this up there going, this you're going to love it, it's beautiful. But it's one of those things that you're never quite sure whether someone's going to enjoy it and like it as much as you do. But yeah, I think it kind of ticked all the boxes when we got there. It's a pretty special spot.
Yeah, I think you drove it in the first one. I think it was like, let's book this place.
Yeah.
It's the cheapest. I also know it's good.
Yeah.
And I think it just
You've got to start somewhere, haven't you, as well?
Yeah.
Why not that starts the journey for you, and maybe, I don't know, if there's any courses in Cumbria where you end up after that 10 years?
It's the only one in the top 100. Yeah. It's our one and only entry point to Cumbria.
Okay, right. Interesting.
my
So,
favourite. He said it was one of your favourite courses.
Oh, it's definitely one of my favourite courses. I mean, it was the first links course I ever played. I mean, the first time I played there I was probably about 14. It was in like a schools competition,
Right.
and I'd never, probably at that point, didn't really know what a links course was.
Yeah.
So it was a real introduction. The first time I played there, it was like 40-mile-an-hour winds and driving rain, and we had to like lie down on the side of the tee boxes. So that was a proper introduction to links golf. But I think it's just a special place. It's got a smell of gorse there. It's just, so we were probably a bit late in the year for the gorse, but if you go a bit earlier in the year, there's so much gorse around. The smell of it is a real evocative smell.
You did mention us a few times actually.
Yeah,
A bit weird, to be honest.
I was a bit disappointed when we got there and there was just like no gorse out. I was like, there's probably a head in a book.
get your gorse out.
No gorse.
That's what we catch up. Or maybe, well, I don't know.
You leave
This podcast could take us anywhere, Jim.
Absolutely.
leave the catchphrases to me, mate.
I've known you for a long time. I know you worked in marketing, but it's well, obviously the build up to the to the first round of this challenge. Explain what your build up was.
Well, a lot of it was weather related.
What?
So-
We had an amazing summer.
Yeah, we had a fantastic summer, haven't we? Yeah, but unfortunately, I've played Burton a couple of times and I've always been dry. But I was just like, I was bricking it, to be honest, about playing in North Park, Cumbria, and if the weather wasn't good, and also you mentioned a few times we played when it was really windy and really wet, and I thought, this is going to be a nightmare. Because then that's, as enjoyable as it is to play golf just any time, of course it is, but as soon as you get to battling the elements, as well as a golf course, right, that's just, it's still fun, don't get me wrong, I'd still rather do that, but yeah, I was filled with dread.
See, I think playing links golf for me, bearing in mind I'm so inaccurate, will probably help.
No.
Maybe it even go even worse, but make
No.
it totally worse. Or
Totally related.
Yeah.
It's fair to say. Yeah.
Used to be,
Can't be able to do those rounds.
used to be straight and true.
Yeah. There's no escaping it.
But we build up as well. I got a message of Chris about 2 weeks before the round because he put it online, hadn't you? And
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
like, we've had an email from the course, like information about our day. I was like, oh, exciting. Yeah, don't be. It's just literally, you get to it, here's what the car park is. That's it. Oh, right. Got a bit. I don't know what I was expecting, but it felt like the game should be a little bit more.
It's literally once already.
There we go. But you listened to that podcast as well, didn't we, about Silloth?
Yeah, and I sent you a podcast in there a few days before,
Yeah.
kind of describing it and what a nightmare it is to play in the wind and the
Yeah.
rain.
Yeah.
Which it can be for sure.
They did say though that they signed up for membership straight afterwards on that, so it was obviously, it was a good course. They were happy to play it. And yeah, so I think it was a mixture of trepidation with the links course and what's the way they're gonna do? But then excitement. It's the first one. It's nice. We're going.
Yeah.
It's the first one. It's the cheapest one. Right, can't quit.
And so, how about the day itself?
Mate, so what was I worried about? The weather.
Yeah.
There was not a drop of wind. Like, literally not a drop of wind. No, that is true. There was no breeze.
Zero wind.
There was no breeze whatsoever. Like, sweat wouldn't evaporate off your body in that breeze. There was no breeze, nothing. It was 25 degrees and there was not a cloud in the sky. And, like, Chris has been filling me with all these stories of, like, 40-mile-an-hour winds, like, lying on the tee box to try and wait for the wind to go for you.
It must be like a good cheat.
Just around the hair.
So we just get there and just like, is it actually going to happen? Like, is it actually going to be like this? And which very quickly turned to, I remember saying this to you in the car, what if we shoot low today? Right, making a mockery of a links course. Yeah, that went well.
So that, I mean, that was about what I was about to ask is, and how was the golf itself?
Well, we went off like a trend. We did.
What does that mean?
I think this is we started very well. Right, I think it's worth bringing out the scorecard now. So one thing I do have to say actually, we had lunch in the clubhouse before, so we did what people seeing off before, didn't we?
Yeah.
Classic ham, egg and chips just before a round. It's perfect.
But
But yeah, it was just like the day was set up perfectly.
That was beautiful. It really was. It was.
Like the pro in the shop was wish I was out there, and but it was hot. It was really hot.
Yeah, I mean that is literally a once in a lifetime opportunity to go and play Silloth in those conditions.
And get a good score.
Never happens.
Yeah, literally get a good score. Which brings me to our scorecard. So here's how we started. I think it's worth bringing up. Like I think I like concepts to it. Well, we were talking about it before. I got 7 pars in this round, which that's quite rare for me. So there was some unbelievable golf in there at times. And that was littered across par 4s and par 3 and a par 5 as well. So it's a good general stretch. But we did start really, really well. So 5 and 7 start off with first tee shot didn't go too well for you, did it?
No,
Very smart.
didn't
My second didn't go well.
About
Like
20 yards.
and then the first at Silloth is really weird because like Chris knows, but you tee up and it's like dead wide. Well, it's not dead wide fairway, it's wide enough fairway. You get a good look at that. But then the second shot, you go all the way uphill, you reach the top of this hill, and then it suddenly just drops, and then the green is there, but then it's surrounded by a heather, the whole thing, isn't it? So if you don't get it right, you're not going to find your ball, so you haven't got no idea where it's gone.
I know how that feels.
Yeah, exactly.
Any course was not to be so.
So I think to get with the last balls get 5 and then Chris got 7 because it wasn't right off the tee. We're like okay, we're okay. And then we've gone par on 2 par 4s. So we were like, this is all right. We're doing okay here. We swapped the 7 and the 5 around on the 4 hole. So I got 7, Chris got a 5. So we're what? We're 3, 4. We're 4 over both of us after 4 holes. So our confidence is pretty high at this point. We're thinking benign conditions. What happens if we do shoot low? And then the course bit back.
I'm not sure it was the course, to be honest. I think it was just my golf.
It was of course.
Was that how an egg repeating on the
It was the shanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best of the
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but this is Shanks.
This is the ham shank.
This is Shanks and Bigfoot. Like, describe what happened.
So that's it. Then drive about 320, 330 off the tee.
Yeah.
So like a wedge left into a par 5.
Yeah. Let's not gloss over that. We both hit monster drives on that one. It was the 5th hole, and we both drove it right down the middle. Like, this is classic links now. So just big, hard bounce forwards and just kept going. So we've gone both 3. I've got like 310, I think, something like that, and you've got 330 easy.
Yeah.
And then it happened.
And then so wedge in hand, thinking right on for an eagle here. And the dreaded shank. So I shanked one onto the beach.
Lovely.
So that was that was the end of my round.
And then you
Pretty much.
the adrenaline took over, didn't it? Because then the actual the replacement ball that you played,
Yeah.
you pumped it well long, didn't you? Remember? And it was right off the back of the green.
Yeah.
And again, I couldn't see where it had gone. And it was like, oh god, right, this is starting to be. Oh, actually, at that point, again, arrogantly, I was like, I suppose there's no wind, and it's like, it's hot, isn't it? So the ball's going to fly a bit. I mean, as if there's any science to any of this,
There's a lot of science to it. I'm sure.
But yeah, that was it. And then I think we both had a bit of a nail on the next one, so we got 7 and 10. And
Well, I had 3 shanks off the tee.
that was 3 shots
Par 3.
off the tee. Yeah.
Yeah, that was well and truly.
Oh god, it was a par 3, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
So at that point, beyond that point, every time I stood over the ball, I was just fear in the back of my mind, like, where is this going to go?
We part of the next hole.
Not what you need on the.
You got to remember this now. We part of the next hole.
That's what would you want. So every time I stand up to say,
So
I tried to do well, Jim, and I didn't like it, I've got to say.
you've got on the 6th, you've got over your 3 shanks, right? And so on the 7th, because he did it on the 6th.
Yeah, you got. I should have had a birdie on the 7th on the next.
Yeah, and you got your part, but then you got 10 on the next hole, so it's just like, what is good? We both did. I was like, what's going on here? And I will tell you, it was pretty benign. All we had to do was hit it with a degree of straightness, and it would be fine. But
easily said and done.
for me, I know what it was. I just thought, this is alright, doing okay, and then those thoughts of being better than you actually are start coming in, and I was like, no, what's going here? So then we hit the turn. Actually, I got 1, 2, 3. I got 4 pars on the back 9. Like, it didn't feel like that at all. It felt awful. Like,
Quite traditional.
yeah, it was hard. It was like I remember finishing, and like the next couple of days, I could not remember anything of that golf course.
Apart from the heather.
Apart from the smell of heather. I was just.
Who's Heather?
I was just like.
I said, after it's not 9 o'clock. First water.
I was actually goosed. Like, I was just meant to be goosed. I just couldn't remember it. No, I was gonna just right after just go. Thanks for that, mate. You know, it's not memorable in any way, shape, or form. The first course, and then it started coming back, and it was because I started looking at my scorecard at that point, and that's when I could remember when I did hit some decent shots. And I then remember thinking, I now understand on that podcast when I was like, we played it, did play particularly well, we signed up for membership straight away. Because if you do play a hole well there, you've played it well. Like, you're not fluking anything there.
Yeah.
You're not going to like run up accidentally onto the green. There's always a bunker in the way or something in the way. So you earn your score. Yeah. I mean, I earned a 101. So
yeah.
Brilliant.
Oh, in fact, I was about to ask what were the scores.
Well, we'll leave it at that, shall we?
101.
Let's not ruin a good chat.
Mine, I think, for the first time in probably 25 years, my number was 3 digits.
3 digits.
So more than Nish's.
Wow.
I'll give you that much.
Oh gosh, right.
Yeah. We'll keep
so,
it quiet.
I mean, just on in terms of, you know, you've got this challenge to, you know, do the top 110.
Yeah.
Have you got side challenges for you two?
Side challenge.
In terms of, you know, you mentioned before that, you know, you drove like 320 yards, you drove 310 yards. Are you introducing some kind of side bets as a little competition between yourselves to make things interesting?
We are now.
Even more interesting.
I think you should put the side bets in, Jay. You should be the master of the side bet. You should give us a bet for each round.
Right, what's happened here? What's going on? Hang on a minute.
I mean, it's interesting enough as it is, but just in terms of.
I mean, ultimately, I think for me, you know, I think they say golf is the great leveler, isn't it? And I've not played for 20 years, and I feel like I've been well and truly leveled out. Well and truly.
And this is after one voice.
But for me, I think, especially being somewhere like Silloth, it's just such a beautiful place. I think you step up on the 4th tee, and you can look behind you, and you've got kind of Scotland behind you, and you look down onto the lakes, and it's just one of the most beautiful places.
It was a gorgeous place to play golf.
Yeah.
And keep saying that hitting it on that day,
yeah,
it was like, everything just makes sense. You would absolutely put a golf course here in this weather. This is amazing. I don't think I'd do that when it's not liquid weeks and the opposite of them. But yeah, it was a stunning place to do the first one. I have to say, I'm surprised it's not higher up in the list because there were a lot of really difficult holes on there that I think everybody would just find challenging. But it was stunning scenery. You know, welcome was great. The facilities were fantastic, and yeah, I mean, it's everything you want from a Tottenham course. right?
So just in terms of the top 100 courses, you mentioned that it should be much higher up. I mean, what is what are the standards that result in you being higher up the list or lower down the list?
Great question.
I mean, I guess a lot of it is the prestige, right? So a lot of the ones at the top are hosting the Open and that kind of stuff. But Silloth is so far out of the way that I think it's almost a little bit forgotten. Because I think they often say if you put that course down, the Lancashire belt, down where you've got kind of you've got Hoylake and Birkdale and Hillside and all those kind of courses. If you put it down there, it would be probably another 20 or 30 places on the list. But I think just because of where it is and it's so inaccessible, I think that probably detracts a little bit from its draw to people, I suppose. People who don't get to play it.
Yeah, and the guy teeing up was really behind us saying that, and this is you have a great time, you enjoy it, and he said the same thing. He's like, put this course in Southport, and you're paying 300 quid for a round because of where it is, and it's almost like they're from a tagline, I suppose, isn't it? Like it's worth the effort, it's worth the effort.
Yeah.
It was a pain. It was so long. I didn't drive, and it was a pain. So imagine doing the 2.5 hours. I mean, it was good. It got a tea day, so that was all right, wasn't it?
Is that a good thing? I don't know. I mean, I guess
So
it's
good
still
for
gone for walking and.
Look, great mate. There's nothing for me. It's like there's beautiful pies and pasties and everything. Like, oh, can't have any of it. But yeah, I think it is. Looking at the list, it is prestige, isn't it?
I think so.
Look at those courses. You've heard all the names. There's nothing really up there that's unusual in that top maybe 15, 20. They're all like a real top like prestige. I think sort of just creeps into top 50, doesn't it? I think.
Something like that. So yeah, 59.
Yeah.
I think obviously as we move through the journey, we'll talk about the courses and where they're ranked, I suppose, and you'll have your own rankings as well as to what you.
This is number one.
This is number one. This is number one.
It's
Absolutely for a number of reasons, but it is first on the list, and that's job one done. So well done, Jack. Said even. And I mean, is there anything else you want to say about Silloth and your experience of that before we move on to?
It's so high. That's the list. Don't think. One thing I do remember thinking afterwards, aside from can't remember what it was like because I was so mentally goose, and then remembering it and thinking it was amazing. I think you were saying about that from the kind of competitive element to it. Me personally, I was a bit gutted that I didn't score better because I was with my 5 iron and kept hitting off the tee, didn't I? And I did for the first 4 holes, and I'm 4 over, and I'm thinking that's good. Yeah, I can translate this to the driver, great. And then that's when you start. I mean, it's not even that you're spraying it. You can hit it well, and it just takes a bounce forward, and it's in something you're never gonna find it. That's the problem.
In the course.
So it's the keeping it. I learned that day, and I said to you in the car, and I learned that day. You have to play within yourself. Can't take liberties with a course like that.
Yeah, no, it's not somewhere you can just go and be aggressive and fire up the head. It just doesn't work.
No.
Come and bite you.
I'm learning a lot about my game. But hitting it straight's not in my game. That's what I'm thinking about.
Well, neither us, but I think I'm very glad you made us do Silloth first. I think it's a really nice start.
Nice introduction to links golf, I think, for sure.
Yeah, about as gentle as you can get, I think.
On a day like that, for sure.
On a day like that, which means that I'm not going to be troubling the scorers too much for the rest of the challenge, but.
But obviously the seasons are changing, and we are. Well, we're not really out of summer.
I don't think we'll be getting these 330-yard drives now going into winter.
No, absolutely.
Get that far, in which case you're in the wrong job, Chris.
Yeah.
I'm trying to say I am.
Yeah.
We're all in the wrong job.
Now you might be wondering why the sudden abrupt stop. Well, we very quickly started jumping ahead and talking about the next round that we've got booked, but that's for another episode. So we just cut it short then, because we got a few more things to discuss before we get to the second one. next time on the Top 110 Golf Podcast. The Reality Check.